Hi, I am Jeremy, the director of the Honors Program. Welcome to the final fall semester event of the Art and Politics Lecture Series that aims to consider contemporary art, contemporary politics, historical art, historical politics, and the complex ties between them in the face of the crises facing the species at the moment. Tonight, I'm really excited, in part for personal reasons over the Thanksgiving break. I mentioned to my students today, I read Isabel Allende's House of the Spirits, so I very much have Chile 1970s in my mind, and so I'm really excited for this event tonight. We've been in touch a bit and thought about kind of what would be the right event and screening this film. And now last year was the 50th anniversary of the coup in Chile, 1973, September 11th, the other September 11th. And that had passed, and so we were like, what's the event we should put on? And we thought about this being the 20th anniversary of this film that takes a orthogonal, as it were, aesthetic approach to political questions and to kind of the ways in which the personal and the political intercalate in moments of disaster and possibility. So without too much further ado, I am going to pass around just a sign-up sheet. Let us know you're here. Make sure you're on our email list. I'll send that around when I get to my seat. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our special guest for the evening, Roberto Brodsky, born 1957. He's a Chilean novelist and screenwriter. He's a professor at Georgetown University in the Latin American Studies Department and here at SVA. He was awarded the 2007 Jaén Prize for Best Novel and the 2009 Martin Nuez Award, both for his 2008 novel, Bosque Quemado, forgive me for pronunciation, Burnt Forest. And he's a prolific novelist, just came out recently with a book of photography about this period, and a number of works that deal with, again, that kind of personal and political interconnection through art. And he is one of the screenwriters of the film that we're going to see tonight. So it's very, very exciting that, and let's give Roberto Brodsky a warm welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you, Jeremy Cohen, the director of this Art Politica series, which is interconnected, of course, with Latin American cinema. Because almost every single film in Latin America has something to do linked with politics. This is a kind of tradition in our filmmaking story. And I'm very happy to welcome our student from film history. And those maybe that subscribe for the Latin American cinema, which we teach on next semester here in the same room. So I'm very comfortable with this presentation. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to celebrate the anniversary of 20th anniversary of Machuca. Machuca has been, I will be a short introduction for this film. Machuca has been shot in 2003, yes, 2003. For a script that began in 2001, really, 2002, maybe a year long to make the script of many versions, 10 versions at least. At the end, and this would the director make the budget possible to shot the film in 2003. And the film has premiered in Cannes in 2004, in May 2004, with a big reception, people clapping for 5 minutes, something. So that was a kind of strategic move from the producer. Why? Because this is the first film, Machuca is the first film that undertook a full interpretation in a fiction manner about the event of the 1973. Before this film, audience in Chile just look at this event as remembering, the memory of dictatorship 20 years on, and a documentary from Patricio Guzman, another filmmaker, but mostly about documentary, no fiction films. And this was the first fiction film that undertook the event and imagined some outcome and some characters and plots, and we take the free way to make possible this film. So this is kind of a strategy to go to Cannes and present the film and premiere the film in La Quinzaine des Réalisateurs, which is a kind of window inside the Cannes Festival to new directors and new filmmaking. And so we presented that film on Cannes because we expect something like a good reception to avoid the prejudice that in Chile exists at that time, in 2003, 30 years later from the coup d'etat, the overthrow Allende, it was still kind of very strong taboo. Don't touch, don't sell anything, don't comment anything about that. Please forget the past. Go to the nowadays, go to the present. We have to build the present. That was the message from the government. That was a message from the army. That was a message from Pinochet. He was really alive at that time. He died in 2006. So the message for the people was to forget. And we undertook this with Andres, this film, with the mission to remember, in a way, to remember what happened in 1973. Because it's a tragedy day for Chilean people. It's super divided, ideologically divided. Today, really, we don't have any common, story to share and to be in a common place with each other. So we're still divided as a country with this very, very historical, fateful day about 1973, September 11, 1973. So we made a choice to put the film in Cannes, to show the film there, to premiere the film there, and expect a good reception in Chile. Because if the film made a good premiere there, we were sure that the news will come back to Chile and to appear in the newspaper, and the audience will receive without prejudice, without the ideological prejudice. And so there are many barriers to really, avoid before presenting the film in Chile. And the first step was this one, to go to Cannes. And the film itself is a fiction one. It's the first fiction film that undertook the kind of memory of those events without any much rhetoric, directly pointing to the responsibility of the people, portraying adulthood, but mostly portraying friendship and childhood. Two boys coming together to join in an experience of a new experimental school, and then came friendships, and then came also to know each other, to know the world, that each other represent. Richard one, a well-off character, which is Gonzalo, and Machuca is a boy from slum, from shanty towns, in front of the house of Gonzalo, separated by the river, which was the situation in Chile in 1973. A river goes along, between rich or well-off neighborhood and poor ones. And people was the slums and the shanty towns. So that was the situation, the space of the film, and that was the character. I just want to let this kind of introduction here and jump into the screening. The film has two main sources. One of them is Andres Luz Memories. In the school has a program of integration between people who haven't been able to pay in a private school, and those memory of Andres came to the script to assemble with the story of the plot and the plot what we made. And the other sources was a short novel I wrote in 2001 and published in 2001, 2002, which is the story of the family, mostly about from the side of Gonzalo's character. And then, of course, the third sources is the situation in Chile. In 1973 was very high politicized, very high ideological confrontation. It was the first Marxist president in the story, really, that took the presidency, in electoral means, in democratic means, and the whole world was very attentive of that situation because it seems to a danger for American administration from Nixon, and it was a kind of hope from many parties, socialist parties in Latin America and in Europe, not go to the army, not go to the guerrilla fight to take power, just to go to the people and gain those wills to vote for change society. So that was the kind of very strong climate of the Chile in the 1970s, early 1970s. Okay, so thank you so much for coming to the screening, and I hope you will enjoy the film. Okay, thank you.
Tenemos nuevos compañeros. Estos amigos viven muy cerca de aquí, ¿sí?
Yo conozco a él. Es el hijo de la señora que lava la ropa en mi casa. Hola, Cristian.
¿Y usted cómo se llama?
Pedro Machuca.
No escucho, más fuerte.
Pedro Machuca.
¡Más fuerte!
¡Pedro Machuca! Mira, nosotros hacemos favor aquí. Ustedes no pagan el colegio, nuestros papás pagan por ustedes. Y ahora quieren ponerle reglas.
¿No le gusta el colegio? ¡Se va del colegio!
¡Váyanse ustedes mejor, pura comunista, fuera! ¿Cuándo he visto que un blanco sea amigo de un indio?
Un amigo. Los amiguitos que tenía.
¿No me decía el pituco, no es que se puede poner a llorar? ¿Por lo bollerado qué?
Yo lo voy a atender a todos, pero da uno, por favor, da uno.
¿Dónde está la derecha con la sal? Dulce es el fuego que duerme.
Como se habrán dado cuenta, los curas ya no están. Y no queremos saber nada de ellos. Quiero decirles que aquí no queremos gente floja. Para lo cual vamos a realizar una limpieza como se debe.
¡Ándate acá, weón! ¡Ándate acá!
We can go into the Q&A. There are many issues there. In some, I think the movie is still fresh from 2004 when we premiered in Santiago and in Cannes. And that's it. I'm very open to your question, your comment and notes. That's it. Please don't be shy. Yeah.
What happened to Father George?
I'm sorry.
Father George.
Well,
Did he survive the Pinochet?
he has been expelled from Chile, from the military. The military intervened the school as been shown in the film. And Father Dylan was expelled because he has been accused of hiding people who have been persecuted. Also, he hidden many people, and so he has been, denounced as a collaborator with the resistance people. And they have been expelled to the US. In fact, it was not from the US, it was, I don't think it's Canadian something, or maybe, but he has been expelled. You know, very, very, very soon after the coup, after the overthrow of Allende, he was expelled. Yeah.
Was he ever able to go back?
I'm sorry?
Was he ever able to go back?
Yeah, well, he was very, after 20 years, he died, abroad. Not in Chile. He was 60 maybe when he left Chile, and he died abroad already. The dictatorship never allowed him to re-enter the country. So he stayed there.
How was the film received in Chile in general?
Well, it was a big surprise, I have to say, because we didn't expect, we expect some discussion, we expect some opposition even, we expect some people, very, very supporting the film, but the film unleashed an incredible amount of discussion, public scene, public, statement on TV, on op-ed journalism, a lot of discussion, in school, in university, because as I said before, the film touched a taboo. The taboo was Allende and the 3 years of government, and the Popular Unity Front, and the message to the people during 20 years of dictatorship and then 10 years of transition for democracy was to forget, to not touch. There is a one inside the country, there is a one inside people, there is a very strong, plant of the people, the soul of the people, the soul of the nation, you can say. So the message was not to touch that, not to see that, not to remember anything, to forget, to go forward, and to move forward. The whole country has to move forward. And so the film makes exactly the opposite. Goes to the past, see what it means to do those 3 years of Allende government. The place of the school is the place of opportunities. It's the place to open up the opportunities for many people. It's not just the people who have paid it. Also people that really don't have the money. And so that's the metaphor of the school. The school was real in that real situation. Father Whelan opened the school in 1969 for this kind of experiment of bringing together poor kids, and rich people. And of course, the experiment, the situation has been stopped in 1973. And so the whole reaction in Chile was incredible it's overwhelming really for us as a creator, authors of the film, was unexpected. I went many times on the theaters, hiding, to try to, catch the mood of the people. Most people cry. Few people stand up and accuse that, oh, this communist, Marxist, throw them away, that's absolutely that way, but it's totally understandable, We live 20 years under dictatorship, and those years were very hard. Propaganda, every day, TV message, against those people that resist, or at least dissent of the rule, was totally, exiled, or put in prison, disappeared, was a repression. The whole country has been under repression. Why? because Allende was not a guerrilla leader, was elected, president elected, 40% of the people elected him. At the last election in Chile in 1973, 4 months before, you know, the election, the parliamentary election, Allende increased his votation, his poll on 45%. So the coup came against 45% of the population, the middle of the half of the country, you know, half of the country. Imagine here in the US, you put a coup d'etat, you know, you put bombardment of the White House, and the half of the population should go to underground, or at least surrender to the new rulers. That's totally incredible. That's impossible. That was the situation in Chile during the 70s, during the coup d'etat. Of course, after that came the propaganda and all the scene. You know, when we premiered the film in Chile, was after premiere in Cannes, because the news on Cannes came from, you know, oh, excellent film, incredible, we love Mechuca, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the news in Chile replicated this message, and so we avoid this kind of ideological refusal, you know, from the film. That's it. But it was very impressive the way that you know, as I went to the theater, wow, well, for me it was you know, a line, some people, you know, trying to get into the theater. The first time in my life, I seen in Santiago, you know, people going in the cinema as a kind of discussion. Going to the cinemas as a kind of public space open to the people to discuss the issue of their life, not really static. You know, they want to go and they want to discuss their own lives.
I'm just thinking about how South Africa chose, under the leadership of Bishop Tutu, to sort of expel the demons through the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And it's like the film served because there was no formal way to vent and to deal with the feelings. It's like the film was sort of Chile's Truth and Reconciliation.
Yeah, well, the South Africa people came to the example of Chile to, you know, implement the Reconciliation Commission. They saw the experiment in Chile after the election against Pinochet in 1988 as a beacon of something that they can make in South Africa and replicate. You know, putting together people under one flag, even people that came from the right or the left or the center, and so they really came together under the flag, and the flag was democracy, of course. And was the same, this experiment in the transition in Chile was replicated, you know, because they have many issues to solve, you know, in South Africa. And that was the same situation, the way that many people oppose each other. There are many ones inside. Many people, you know, break down. Many people came to revenge, you know, so this is the situation also. They look really close to that example in Chile. In Chile, after the 1988, we inaugurated something like a Commission of Reconciliation, bringing memories of those people who have been repressed, and also bringing to the fore those people who were responsible. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
How much distribution did this film get in this country?
Oh, I don't know really. We had, you know, a distributor. I think, well, the filmmaker Andres put the film in company, you know. But as we knew really recently, you know, the distributor rescinded the contract, and the film came back to the producer in Chile, so the company of Andrés. But really, I don't know really what is the move right now, you know? Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian.
So, like this movie has like a coming of age story going on alongside its political messaging. Like when you were involved in the writing, like the creation of this film, how did you like balance that, and how much of the coming of age story was like based in the politics of like the time?
Yeah, well, it's totally, as I said after seeing the film, it's very touching because we live with Andres a lot of situations. You know, I live a big situation about the military when they came to the school and they intervened, you know, and they put the people, in place, and was totally, you know, experience. This was my own experience. For Andres, it was the same. He was in St. George School when the poor people, the people who has came to this experiment of integration, and they have been expelled after the coup. So there are many issues that came from the experience. Even I wrote a book called The Last Day. Last Day, you know, had been published in Spanish in 2001, and we really I recollect the memories of those years in the 1970s, mostly about the family. And one day, I published in 2001, and one day Andres came to my house in Santiago and said, "Wow, I read your book. We have to make a film of that. We have to make a film with my own memories and your adaptation of the book. You know? So we have to mix all those sources and get one film about, because we need to do that because we live there, really, you know. And so for me, for us, it was a kind of a revival of those experiences, because was our coming of age story. So we should. I love the last scene when Gonzalo, because I have to say that the coming of age of Gonzalo is not the coming of age of Machuca. It's the coming of age of Gonzalo because Gonzalo has the opportunity to coming of age. Machuca hasn't that opportunity. The people who, the Machuca is the voice of the father. You will be on the toilets. You will be cleaning the toilets 15 years after. Your friend will not remember that your name either. So it's tragic. It's tragic. But I love that scene that at the end of the film when Gonzalo was emptying the class, the teacher is another one, and he emptied the exam. He goes out with a kind of slap the door. You know? Why? This gesture, he learned everything. He has learned everything. They just have in his head every experience that he can really extract from those periods. He has betrayed his friend. He betrayed Machuca because he tried to save his life. The mother betrayed the family. Pinochet betrayed the country. Allende has been betrayed. Every adulthood is betraying something. That is the lesson of coming of age for him. You know? People, adulthood, betrayed something. Betrayed something that had to be with them, with their own feelings. The mother, Maria Luisa, the military, the people of the right, I think, they betrayed the country because they betrayed the republic, they betrayed the democracy. Because Chile was the longer democracy in South America, 105 years of democracy. Never a coup d'etat, never. That's the first time. So this is a big lesson of the coming of age of this story and this, character. So we really amassed a lot of experience, to get the script and to work in many paths. We have to, really say once and again, diverse versions, version after version. We wrote at least 10 versions of this script because it was enough. It wasn't enough. So we tried again and again, to put the issues that we consider relevant and has to be significant for the meaning of the film. Each scene has to be very significant. And I think we do that. Yeah, at the end. Yeah. That's it. So.
Yes, I remember following the events very closely at the time, and the Nixon-Kissinger policy promoting the so-called trucker strike and creating the shortages artificially. There's a straight through line from that to what the U.S. policy is now against Cuba, trying to use starvation and isolation and false accusations of support of terrorism to try to starve the population. And I have family in Cuba, so I know what I'm talking about, into just trying to create what France and England did 200 years ago to Haiti, just trying to immiserate the entire population.
Yeah, well, the intervention of the American administration has been a record, in Pentagon Papers. I think that this is the book, Pentagon Papers, and they put them, what was the intervention? They pay for people. They pay for the strikers. They pay for the newspaper. And Mercurio has been paid, monthly amount of dollars to publish something against Allende. The intervention was open, for disclosure. Has been closed for almost 50 years. And, recently with the 50th anniversary of the coup this year, the last year, the paper came on full display. And it was incredible to see that and to read that because the American really intervened. Intervened by money. I have a film shot by a guy called Enriquez who interviewed people, the military attaché in the embassy of the US in Chile at the time, the ambassador, and many other peoples. And they really, have been shot this film documentary 5-10 years ago, and they speak openly about how they intervene in the process of Allende. They hide even shots, through the luggage, diplomatic luggage, and the custom. And they paid many dollars for the publication, and they paid to the striker and so on. So yeah, it's something that we knew, but has been, openly, shared in the public space right now. Yeah.
Solo quiero decir una cosa primero, es un honor estar en su presencia. It is an honor to be in your presence. I think it's really cool that you're here speaking. My question is, how did you find, or what was the source of the character Machuca and their family?
Well, a big process of casting, but I have to say that we make a big decision at the very beginning of the process, which was to lower the age of those characters. in the novel that Andrés read and I wrote, the people the character were from 15, 16 years old, so they're most sexually really active. In a way, they were really open, and they're really ideological. They had ideological side already, you know? But we decided to lower those ages because for one reason, we need to avoid the ideological stance. We need to avoid those kind of prejudice when this is in Chile. And so we lowered the age. The people are 12, 13 years old, you know, and so they have kind of look at the reality in a very, you know, innocent way. They have to look at the reality of the adulthood, the world of the people, you know, around them, with no prejudice at all, not with a kind of judgment, ideological judgment, or even moral judgment. They just going to discover the world. You know, the scene along the river when there are the kisses, they kiss each other. You know, this is discovering the way that they can touch their body. They learn to kiss each other. You know, there is something new for them, and the age of 12, 13 is the proper age to, you know, to learn that. If we go up on the age of the character, 15, 16 years old, it's impossible. At that time in Chile, everyone was, you know, kissing, you know, and making parties and so on, you know. And so this is a very big decision, and to find the actors, no actor. The two ones, Machuca and Gonzalo, didn't have any experience. They really began in that position with the film. One of them, just Machuca's character, became actor after, followed the career, the professional one. But the other one, Gonzalo, no.
How old were they when they made the film?
Yeah.
How old were they?
Oh, they were 14 years old, something, you know. And we try to lower the fictional tale. We try to lower those ages to put the process of Allende under the eyes of the kids. The friendship, the attachment, the amusement, they want. They has been hurt. They have their own families. Each one has a kind of tragedy in their family, you know. And so we try to see those tragedies under the eyes of the friendship and the eyes, the ages of those little kids. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.